Hi, everyone. I'm Meredith Schweitzer. I'm our Director of Public Programs and Communications at the School for Advanced Research, and I'm here talking to Kim Martindale, who is the partner in the shows that we're going to talk about today with Don Morris. And Kim has a really long relationship with SAR and a much longer relationship with these two shows in particular that we're going to talk about, and with the kind of dealer and art world in terms of Indigenous, contemporary, and historical work. So I want to just get into this show that they're going to do virtually next week. It starts February 24th, and there'll be a virtual preview. And the show will go February 24th to February 28th. And so it's actually two shows under the umbrella of the Object of Arts shows. So we have the San Francisco Tribal and Textile Art Show and the American Indian Art Show San Francisco. So we're going to get into both of those, and we're just going to talk about the history of Kim, his own kind of background, but also get into his relationship with SAR and what you have to look forward to virtually from your own couch next week. Kim, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into the shows in particular?
Definitely. It's nice to be with you, Meredith, and your audience. And I've had a passion for art, and especially American Indian art, all my life. As a little kid, 4 years old, I picked up stones with points on them, and I showed them everybody that they were arrowheads. And even though they weren't, and eventually I learned that. And then, lived in Canada, the East Coast, and always went to rock shops and looked for American Indian art. Finally made my way out to California and went to my first show, and at 12 years old, and got to know people in that industry. And people would fly in for these shows just like they do. Well, they used to be able to do, and hopefully we can do again soon. And so by the time I was 14, I had started to read books and learn about textiles and that. And these friends of mine, Grace and George Marsick, had flown in from Chicago. And I was down working the show. My parents were kind enough to drive me down, drop me off, leave me with Don Bennett for the weekend, and I would work on these shows. And so we got up early with George and Grace Marsick and went out to the Rose Bowl swap meet. And it was my first time there. I was about 14. And I had saved like $125 from working all these jobs to go there. And they said, well, we're kind of looking for the same thing. So you go one direction, we'll go another direction, walked around. I found this textile that I was like, I think it's a transitional blanket. And so he said, I want like $150. And I go, I don't have that. Do people even take offers on things? And so I was like, okay, I think, yeah, they do. So let me try. I knew I needed money for lunch and offer them some gas money. So I said, here's $100. Will you take it? And he said, yes. So I was so proud. So I got this rug. I don't really know if it's worth this or not, or if it's a transitional blanket, but I think it is. And it has the Spider Woman cross on it, which is kind of a plus sign with dots on each point, which is part of my logo today and part of the reason that it's part of my logo today. And so I carried it back around the swap meet, and then I saw George and Grace and another friend of theirs walking towards me. And they sped up their speed a little bit, and I was kind of excited to show what I had. And they were like, where did you find that? Like, no one's found anything at this swap meet. And I said, oh, it was over there, the direction you told me to go. And so they were like, oh, wow, it's a great piece. And the friend that was with them said, I really like that piece a lot. And I said, yeah, I do too. Look at that Spider Woman crosses. And I was like, it's a transitional blanket. And they agreed with me, so that I was like, yes, it is. Good, good. He said, well, I would like to buy it from you if you want to sell it. Do you want to sell it? And I said, oh, no. And he goes, well, do you want to be a dealer or a collector? And I was kind of like, well, both, I think. Yeah. And I go, well, how much will you give me for it? And he goes, no. That's not how it works. If you're going to be a dealer, you need to tell me what you want for it. And I was like, well, I've looked at transitionals now for a couple of years at these shows and read about them. And so I said to him, I go, $450. And he goes, I'll take it. And I passed out, and it was more money than I had ever seen. And so it was quite a day and quite a memory for me. And ever since that, this world has been, the arts, whether it's Asia or American Indian, has been an integral part of my life.
I love that story because it's like about discovery, capitalizing on doing your work and research and like really learning about the history of the pieces, right?
Exactly. And
Super.
that's what's wonderful about this field is that there's always something new to be learned. As long as I live, I hope I live to be 125. That's my goal right now. I think that every day when you wake up, there's something to be learned about this. Like you can never learn it all. And that's why there's people that are specialists in different areas that you go to and you learn from. And that's just what I love about the art world is that there's always something new.
It seems like the chance to be showing new works and pieces that have been in collections for a long time is like such an interesting contrast. And I'm interested in the fact that the one show has been around for 37 years, and just the complete flip of how you've had to adjust the shows this year in particular. Can you give for our listeners like an overview of what the shows are, if someone who's never been to any of the objects of arts shows, like, can you talk to us about what they are and what the sort of mission of them is?
That American Indian show, that's the 37-year-old show, and the tribal show's 35 years old. And I started the Indian show with the California Academy of Sciences as a partner kind of thing in it, because they were getting a big collection, the Elkis collection. And the goal really is to share this wide range of material to a new audience and really have people come and share their passion in person. And that's really kind of how the shows that we do in Santa Fe kind of started. And that's where I started in the show business when I was 16, was doing the first ever historic or antique American Indian show. And then a few years after that, started the show in San Francisco. And so they're really about drawing together the whole world of American Indian art. At first, those shows were only historic material because there was Indian market for contemporary. And then as the San Francisco show grew, we started to incorporate contemporary material in it as well, because I felt that that was really important to showcase the evolution of American Indian art from these historical pieces to these contemporary pieces that really set a whole different tone, but yet the inspiration. So the shows are really a gathering of these people that just love American Indian art, or that you just have some passing interest and you can come and learn and touch and feel things. And unfortunately, at this point, we can't come and touch and feel, but we can still see and still have that visual pleasure. And that's really the movement this year onto the virtual format, which for a lot of people, it's a brand new experience, kind of including myself this year, looking at other art shows virtually. I think that it's definitely a change, but I think it's a change that's a really positive change, because the goal of the shows to begin with was to bring people together. And the thing that a virtual show can do is bring the world together on looking at a subject. And it's really hard, no matter what the conditions of the world are everybody to fly in from all over the world. So this will allow people to see it, like you said, from whatever couch they're sitting on, from whatever country they're in, they can view this art and get a taste for it. And this year's show has some of the biggest, best dealers and some amazing pieces in it.
Tell us a little bit about some of the materials in particular, like the focus of what people could expect if they were going to come to the preview on February 24th.
There'll be two shows, like we're talking about, the tribal show and the American Indian show, but you can easily go back and forth between both shows. So make sure you do that. Like, even if you're more interested in American Indian, or your interest is more in African material, or even particular like Yoruba tribe, I would suggest that you go through all of the different exhibitions that each exhibitor is putting together. And there's about 120 total exhibitors in both events. And each of them have about 30 items. Some of them will have more than 30, up to 60 items. So there's a wide range of material. And that's the great thing about it, is that you can see this plethora of material. A lot of people that aren't familiar with it kind of put it all in one category. Like American Indian art is just American Indian art, but yet historically we have, baskets from certain areas, or Northwest wood carvings, or pottery more in the Southwest, or beadwork, or quill work, and all these different types of art forms that you'll be able to see and really get a visual treat by going through these different exhibitions and seeing this variety of material. And the nice thing about this show, it's not only historical material, there will actually be contemporary material in it as well.
So Kim, I think that you've been working with SAR for almost a decade in terms of partnerships. I would love for you to talk about really like your first experience getting to know SAR, how you came to know what SAR is, and how that is informing your perspectives today.
Yeah, it was actually kind of a magical moment for me. It was an exciting time because I had been going to Santa Fe since I was about 16, but had never been to SAR. I'd kind of heard about it, but I had never really made that effort, which is a very simple effort. It's so Santa Fe isn't that big, right? But when I finally 10 years ago started to dig a little bit deeper into SAR and all the activities, and then we started to form this partnership with the shows, and I came up and I saw the collection. It was amazing. I mean, your collection is full of masterpieces. And I was just blown away by the quality of the material. And I think that, that you really have some masterpieces. Like, not everyone that does artwork today is by any means close to a master. And there's many people that do it just for the pleasure of art, and that's fine. But that's really not what we're talking about in the art world. And I think that that's what really can be shared with the rest of the world, that can garner respect from the rest of the world for different types of objects. Because I think that rather than just comparing art to art, I think it should be masterpieces of all cultures. And once you get to that level, then I think that there's no dispute that every culture has produced masterpieces that should be respected by everybody.
That's so great to hear. And, at SAR, a large part of what we do with the Indian Arts Research Center and our collection is we're really interested in working directly with source communities and working through the materials in terms of like what is culturally appropriate, what are things that are culturally sensitive, what are things that can be shown publicly, and things that are maybe are reserved for certain communities within communities, right? And we've been really at the forefront in terms of working with communities and collections. I'd love to hear from you kind of your perspective from the dealer community, being a dealer yourself, but also seeing the evolution of these types of relationships over the years, of sort of how you all address the need for community awareness and for working directly with Indigenous populations and materials that you might be sharing from certain communities. How do you navigate that whole side of the work that you do?
Well, I think that there's a couple of questions there. And I think that there's really something that from the show perspective, I think it's really about the art side of it. And and that's the great thing about SAR, is that they have this historical collection, which is amazing collection, especially of pottery. And then you bring in these contemporary artists, and they receive, and I think in many cases, inspiration by looking at the collections, the historical collections. And I think that that's an important part of the art world, is kind of reflecting back on those historical pieces. And that's really what the shows have been about, is showcasing those historical pieces. I think that we continue to learn about what types of items can only really be shown by those communities within communities that you speak of, to allow them to continue a tradition that's vital for their community and therefore for the world community in a religious sense. And I think that those kind of objects we have tried as a community through groups like Atada or other groups to really try to get some of those items back in a volunteer basis, because most of this material, or almost all of it, has been purchased throughout time and has been passed down from one person to another person, or put in a collection like SAR has a collection. And so there's that whole side of it. But really the side that we really try to focus on at the shows is more about the art and about these pieces that are really done by, master artists, whether it be somebody in the 1850s, 1600s, or 1920s, or present day today. I think that we should look at it with its artistic merit in mind. And I think that what we really need to look at is masterpieces and really say that there have been important artists throughout time in all cultures. In today's contemporary art world, which I know a little bit about because I've also produced the Los Angeles Art Show for 25 years and started it 25 years ago, is that cutting edge contemporary art, installation art, video art, certain things like that have really taken the fore and is what many people really talk about when they talk about art. And the world kind of focuses on that. I think people are missing out on a lot of amazing things. Not to take away from that focus, but say, hey, let's broaden your horizons a little bit than that focus, which is something that's new, right? That's never been done. And many times in the art world, we're looking for what's the newest thing. I think it's worthy of looking back and saying, hey, there were masterpieces that were done by different cultural groups around the world. And I think that that's the great thing about SAR's collection. I think it's the great thing about the shows that we're putting together and the items in the show. Not all of them will be masterpieces, but many of them will be. And I think a masterpiece should be recognized as an art form that deserves the accolades of everybody that loves art, whatever that cultural heritage that it's coming out of. And I think that we're better for it, stronger for it, and have a deeper relationship to art if we look at all of these cultures.
What are you excited about in the art world right now? Like,
My excitement is really towards the virtual world and what we just discussed about trying to share and showcase to a broader audience than we've ever been able to reach before about an art forms that I've had passion about, as we talked about, since I was born, basically, as a little kid. And, I didn't mention that by the time I was 6, I called my bedroom the Kimrarian Museum. And I had little shelves and little things put up in it. And I just have always felt that by sharing this by a broader audience, that more people will come in tune with it. And it actually will help the contemporary artist, because I think that part of a show is the commercial aspect of it, right? Of selling things. And I think that, as an artist, we all need a marketplace for it to help us grow as an artist, to live as an artist, to live traditional lifestyle as an artist in many Native American or Indigenous communities. And I think that through this virtual format, which we will continue to do even when there's in-person shows, again, we'll keep the combination going. What I'm excited about is really to open up to this world in a bigger way, these art forms that I personally love. I have quite a bit of experience going to museums, all the major shows for pretty much the last 20 years, Basel, Frieze, whatever show it might be, all over the world. And I still come back to American Indian art and ethnographic art and Aboriginal painting and different forms that come out of those traditions. These forms that have been done in the past, these objects that have been created by these master artists. And I just think that it's something that the world needs to look back on. I didn't say that I also continued in that conversation when I was 14 with the rug, that I became a dealer, a show promoter, but also a collector. And so my place is full of art objects, from contemporary to historic work, from ethnographic material. And through this year, it's been amazing just looking at these objects and having more time to enjoy them. And I think it's something that many people have been looking towards their environment that they live in a daily basis through this last year. And for a while, it was about just white walls and space. And I get that from a Zen perspective, and I've even studied Zen. But I do think that in that perspective, that if you have some form that's an amazing piece of art, that it has its own energy and can feed you back and forth. And it actually, for me, I've always said to my parents when they brought me off at a museum or something as I was growing up, like, I don't need lunch, just leave me here. I'll be fed by the art. And I still believe that today, that art does that. So what I'm most excited about is the ability to share with the world this art that I've always loved.
Well, we want to share it too. So tell us, if we have someone who's not familiar with the shows, like I said, what's the best way to get involved? How do we find out where to go and what we can do?
So you want to go to objectsofartshows.com, and that's a landing page. So objectsofartshows.com. There you'll see the 4 shows that we do, but the 2 shows that are coming up, you'll click on that, and that will take you to a page that then you can register for the show and sign up and sign in, and you get a password for that first day, the 24th, which is a benefit. And 100% of that money goes to Blessingway, which is really the arm that works with Toadlena Trading Post, Mark and Linda Winter, which is the only surviving trading post that's still active as a trading post. And they've been so beneficial in helping the artist community, the weaving community in particular in that area, Two Gray Hill weaving style, to continue. It's just amazing. I was out there last month, actually at the giveaway, with masks on and all of that kind of thing, but giving away food, which is crucial to that community, funds to help feed their sheep, which without their sheep, they don't have their wool to weave with. And it was just an amazing experience. And that's where all 100% of the proceeds are going to go. So please go on the 24th and enjoy the show then. Be the first to see these items, as well as helping this cause. But if that doesn't work for you, then continue on or come back, because there's so much to see. Maybe you want to come back the next day or the next day, the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, and enjoy these galleries from 9 different countries, 15 different states, and just this amazing world of ethnographic art in one area in particular, American Indian.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for talking with us about the show. We're really excited to send our SAR community to participate in it. And, it's been wonderful working with you over the years. We've had our artists like Iva Honiestewa show at the shows in Santa Fe. We've had our former director, Brian Vio, the director of our Indian Arts Research Center, gave a talk at one of the shows, I think 2 years ago. So it's been great to be involved with the community and to really be seeing what sort of trends and pieces are coming out or are being showcased. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing to bring this amazing cultural heritage to the public, and especially in this time where we're not able to get together physically in person, to provide an outlet for people to be able to access some of these really unique and beautiful pieces and unique and beautiful artists, to be able to provide that to the community in this time when it's just, we're not able to get together in person. I think it's really valuable. So hopefully we'll have lots of SAR members and community members join you next week, February 24th through the 28th. And Kim, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Well, it's been such an honor working with SAR over the years, and I certainly look forward to it into the future with the amazing programming you do. So thank you. Take care.